Warning. 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 Warning.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Sports Talk 49 live on BucsReport.com. I'm your host, Blake Anthony, and this is my show. I know it's not Tuesday, but we're here. We got so much stuff to put out. I couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait till Tuesday to get this information out there because there's so many cuts. It's Friday, and who knows what else is going to happen? Who knows who gets cut and who knows who gets signed? But first and foremost, before we get into all that today, hopefully we get some of our other Bucs Report members on here and give an opinion to everything of what's going on here and most recent news, and then we just discuss it as well as take your fan phone calls and things like that. But without further ado, make sure you add me on your social media thread right here. And make sure you follow Bucs Report on Facebook. Bucs Report, follow the 65,000 and following. Make sure to follow us on Bucs Report on Twitter and all the other major social media sites, as well as YouTube and Twitch. So with the cut list, we're going to get into that in a second. Well, actually, we'll just get into it now. Bucs cut via Greg Allman and many other sites, but I believe Greg Allman was the first person to get this out. Cuts including Raymond Calais, Adari Agumbawale, the special team captain. Not sure how you feel about that. Wide receiver Grayson, tight end that I interviewed, Tanner Hudson, offensive lineman Levert, Dixon, kicker Gay, 5th round draft pick. We're talking all that. Zach Bailey, Spencer Snell, who just recently got there. Mitchell, wide receiver Mitchell, wide receiver Pearson, wide receiver tight end McElroy, Reed Sinnett, somebody Joshua Cole Allen has interviewed several times, Javon Hagan as well, safety, wide receiver Herb Miller, Mozzie Wilkins, and Benning Poe, Vita Vea's teammate at Washington a few years ago. And we'll talk about, and also linebacker Dawkins, I believe was number 52, I believe. And we'll get into, we'll talk about all that, and we'll take your phone calls here. I'll post that up here in a second. But first, I want to make sure to give a major shout out to our sponsors here. We'll talk about Buccaneers official sports bar, which Peter Blake and the gang should be there on Saturday at the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol out there in St. Pete. Check it out. They'll be out there as well as every Sunday talking pre, post, and half, and post, as they always do, as they always done every year, talking Buccaneers and taking phone calls and things of that nature. And as always, we'll get to the comments up here and we'll talk to you guys, and I'll post the number up here in a second. I just want to get everything together, so because I know you guys got a lot of questions and stuff you guys want to talk about. There's just a couple that I was surprised. Well, it's a couple that I wasn't surprised, and then a couple that that wasn't surprised, and a couple that I am surprised. But it is what it is. According to the roster, I mean, they're really in a win now mode, I'd have to say. And I know Rick Hughes was on here earlier with the cheap seats, which I'm really anxiously looking forward to seeing here later on. When the season rolls up, it's going to be fun, exciting. Rick brings another flavor here to the team. So I know you know Joshua Cole, Adam, Peter Blake, Al Kick, and everybody else. So it's awesome to see all these guys flourishing and get this out here. But as I said, make sure to check out the sponsors, the Deck Bar and Grill, Isla del Sol. Make sure to check out My Cannabis Card, Tampa's leading cannabis clinic. Their cannabis clinic network is among the broadest in the nation and was developed to make getting your cannabis card as easy and stress-free as possible. My Cannabis Card effectively links new patients with the closest state-licensed medical marijuana doctor near them, while also saving them 30% on evaluation costs, just mentioned Bucs Report. All right, with that being said, I've seen questions already in here. Bigger surprise from Ben Cornett. Matt Gay or Dare? Ooh. As I've said before, Matt Gay missed the same amount of kicks as Roberto Aguayo did his rookie season. So it was really no change. There was really no upgrade from that. It was a lot of still wait and see. And I don't think they really wanted to wait till year two to wait and see, just like they did with Roberto, and then have to make a switch during the season, which discombobulates things a little bit there. So I really don't think they want to do that. So I'm not surprised that they decided to move on so quickly, and it was the right thing to do. And Dare I had making the roster up until Leonard Fournette was signed. Once Leonard Fournette was signed, I kind of saw that coming, because Leonard Fournette's passing and catching ability, which goes underrated, along with his running ability, it kind of makes him obsolete almost. So that's just what's going to happen with that. So it didn't really surprise me that happened. I mean, you got to upgrade at the same kind of person, a guy that can catch passes as well as run the ball. And Leonard Fournette is a top 5 draft pick and has proven that he can run the ball. Questions have his staying healthy ability is really what's been the issue. But as far as running the ball, and I know people have had questions about Leonard Fournette. Peter killed that the other day once that news broke that Tampa Bay has agreed into terms on Leonard Fournette. I also got a prediction that Leonard Fournette will wear number 37 coming out once that gets put out. I'll go into details later on at another time why 37. But Leonard Fournette, what kind of plays he'll get is that it's basic football, running isolations, zone runs, and things like that. That's just common sense football stuff like that. Now, when you get into specialty plays and things like that, that's going to be a little different stuff, specialized just for him. So, Ray Kenny, all kinds of party going on at the Deck. Absolutely, they'll all be out there. The week 1 against the Saints. Make sure to check Peter Blake and all of us at the gang out there at the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol, Bucs Report's official sports bar. Eric says, "Go Bucs." Eric again, surprised some by Bucs cuts. Of course, unfortunately that's what happens. Fantasy football show, absolutely. Bucs top 4 team this year, absolutely. Look good on paper. They got to perform on the field. Eric, again, Tyler Johnson going to be on the Bucs. Absolutely, I think they have a future for Tyler Johnson here. Unfortunately, he's plagued by the injury bug, but I didn't really expect him to play that much early, at the beginning anyway, being how there's so much depth on this team. And barring an injury, he could play. If Justin Watson doesn't beat him out right now, Justin Watson's going to be ahead of him because he's actually lost weight and is actually performing in this offseason. And Tyler Johnson has been injured. He's performing well. He's just got the injury bug right now. Phone lines are open. You can call 727-475-1882. And we can talk if you guys want. I'll make sure to get to all your questions and talk about those things there. So Raymond Calais probably going to be cut and added to the practice squad, which I believe he should clear waivers and come on there. Because we haven't really heard much about him other than spurts here and there. I don't think he was going to win a return job. I don't think it was all that. And there's a lot of people that just tend to think that guy's small and quick. He's just going to make the roster as a return man. It's not always to say. There's a lot of intangibles that come into that. And obviously Raymond didn't fit that. So it looks like they're going to give the job to somebody else. Ongumbawale, as we talked, became obsolete. Excuse me. He became obsolete once Leonard Fournette came up. I like the kid. I think he had a lot of great intangibles that he had. I just didn't think it was enough to beat out Leonard Fournette. And he was a special teams captain. Unfortunately, he's not going to make the team. Tanner Hudson, I really hope he clears waivers and comes on the practice squad. Unfortunately, he's just a victim of volume, as Peter said many times. But Ronald Jones, and we'll talk about Ronald Jones, the Arians comments as well a little later on. But he's just a victim of volume at the tight end position with OJ coming to a contract year. Basically, Gronk in one more year, see if they're going to re-sign him for another year for Brady or how long he wants to play. And then you got Cameron Brake, who's currently making $4.5 million currently as the third tight end. And then you got Anthony Auclair, who they clearly want to keep, and they use him as another blocking guy who can offer some pass catching ability, but it's going to be interesting to see how he factors in to the plan in the 12 personnel. An article I put out, checked it out on Bucs Report. I explained fully in depth. Well, in depth, but not as far as it could have been in depth, because there's a lot you can talk about 12 personnel. Just try to show you all the variations that you have in that offense, while also being able to go vertical in the spread offense as Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich will do. Spencer Snell was none other than depth. Possibly they may keep him around on the practice squad. It's possible. It's very possible. Sitton, Mikhail, love the show. Appreciate it, Sitton. Dan, maybe Ryan Smith or Kevin Minter, a special teams captain. Very possible. Speaking of Kevin Minter, we have an awful lot of LSU. I'm going to change the Bucs to Tampa Bay Tigers, LSU Tigers. That's what Leonard Fournette adds another LSU Tiger and former teammate of Devin White as well. You said it didn't work, Eric. I'll mess with it here in a minute. Another former LSU Tiger from the LSU when Devin White was actually recruited to LSU as a running back and then changed position because he knew he was playing behind some decent backs like Darius Geis and Leonard Fournette and all those guys that came out of LSU at that time and switched to linebacker and ended up being a top 10 pick. So, I mean, it's pretty much a LSU reunion here in Tampa Bay. So it's interesting that all those LSU players, I guess, because you come from a great foundation out there at LSU, and then you bring it here to Tampa Bay and try to build some continuity. And Kevin Minter as well. Kevin Minter played very damn good when he played, in absence of Devin White. And he almost had a pick that was nullified by a defensive penalty, which was crazy against Carolina. Man, he's been a stud. When called to duty. So it's very possible that Kevin Minter could be there. And Ryan Smith as well. I'm just actually surprised Ryan Smith made it. That's probably because he plays so well on special teams, because Pernell Motley's been very, very good in camp so far and probably will get some play time barring game situations and things like that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out. I'll mess with that in a minute, Eric, and see what's going on with that. But it should be fun. But I'll mess with it here. Hopefully, Joshua Cole Allen was going to join later. Not sure if he got caught up or not, but it's fine. You can rock out with me, and I'll answer you guys' questions and all that stuff here, and we will just talk about it. Are we at any word on Justin Evans at this point? You know, Ben, very interesting. Every time I see Justin, it's the same place as I saw him when I got all the photos of him at camp. He's just standing there in shorts and in a jersey with the number 21 jersey, standing on the sideline, taking mental notes. Don't see him with a pen pad or anything, writing stuff down or anything like that. It's very crazy that all these players in Tampa Bay over the past 10 years have gone out injured with some type of leg injury, barring Carl Nicks with the COVID in his toe. Now you got Justin Evans with an ankle, I believe. You had a Kendall Beckwith with the ankle in the car accident. Then you had the kicker, I can't remember his name, Lindell, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Lindell go out with an injury to his leg. COVID, I believe. I think he was COVID as well. And then I think Connor Barth hurt his leg in a charity basketball game. So it's very crazy that you have all these situations where all these players here go off injured with lower body injuries, like leg injuries of some sort or some kind, in that area. Not all the same, but in that area, and that has happened. And then we mentioned kicking. Now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers remove 5th round draft pick Matt Gay on for poor play to be replaced by Ryan Suckup, who I posted last week, was kicking 60-yard field goals after surgery, was kicking them with ease as he never missed a beat. And if I know things like I know, he got called, he came out there, got off the plane. It's not far from where the Bucs practice at Raymond James, came out there, kicked what they asked him to kick, performed well. They agreed to in principle, signed him, and then moved on from Matt Gay. This team really has no time to wait. There's no time to wait. You have 2 years with Arians remaining. You have 2 years remaining with Tom Brady right now. You got Gronkowski on a 1-year deal. So you got all these pieces in place that are here for a limited time offer, like the McRib sandwich from McDonald's. It's for a limited time offer. And you got to make these things work, and you got to make these changes. If you had the ability to upgrade the running back, which they did, they took the chance and did it. Now, whether you want to keep Leonard Fournette in the future, it's their choice if they want to or not. It's up to them how they play and what they plan on paying them and things like that. So only future can tell what's actually going to happen and how people play and where they fit in. What's going to happen with Ronald Jones playing in the offense and how he fits with pass catching and knowing his blocking assignments and having confidence in himself. That's really what it comes down to. Football is one thing, and you can't keep saying over and over, oh, he's gonna learn. There's some things that at this point in the game, you don't have to learn anymore. You should know what to do and what not to do. So those things should come first nature to you. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. And that was all because of you, Ben, your long and gated question on what's going on with Justin Evans. Reed Snett possibly re-signed to the practice squad. Keep working with him. Kid has potential. Joshua Cole Allen knows best about him and checked him out and has had him on the show several times as well. He's been on with Ray as in a cup of Ray. Benning Poe, I expect to be re-signed. Going to be a decent nose tackle, especially with the release of Kyle Love, the nose tackle. So I believe they're looking for some more depth there. It's going to be interesting to see how roster movements and in this point, you make these. So I'm going to tell you what exactly happens in these movements. See, what happens is you get rid of these guys, and then everybody makes these cuts, and you kind of sit around and wait and see who else gets cut or that'll fit a need on your team and things like that. And that's kind of the sit and wait situation that you're at right now. You wait and see who else gets cut on somebody else's team and see if you can get an upgrade at that position at a spot you need to fill. Where we were at, talking about Matt Gay. Zach Bailey was a guy like that South Carolina, played very well against Dexter Lawrence at Clemson with that beastie line that he had a couple years back, a year ago, 2 years ago. Mozzie Wilkins, hometown kid, didn't make the team. I guess he got beat out by Pernell Motley, which was pretty much playing really well. I'm not going to say you star. You can't really – well, you can star in camp, but it's shorts and T-shirt, much like, camp. Well, they do have tackling and stuff. So he obviously played well, better than Mozzie Wilkins. Again, if you're just tuning in, it's a Sports Talk 49 live on BucsReport.com. Normally on Tuesdays at 3:30. Starting next week, the week of, game week. Where are we at? We're at the 3rd. Yeah, coming in next week, the 13th to start the week off against the Saints. I will move to my normal time for the season. I'll go back to Mondays and Fridays, giving pre and post game. Pre to the next game, post to what just happened, and talk about the keys to beating the Saints and what things happened like after the game and things like that. So I'm gonna move back my times to Monday and Fridays. I have all that advertised so you guys are able to find it and all that, and I'll make sure to move that around. So we'll get back to it. Make sure to always check out our sponsor, the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol, Buccaneers official sports bar. And always check out mycannabiscard.com, Tampa's leading cannabis clinic. Their cannabis clinic network is among the broadest in the nation and developed to making your cannabis card easy and stress-free as possible. My Cannabis Card effectively links new patient with the closest state licensed medical marijuana doctor near them, while also saving up to 30% in evaluation costs, just to mention. Just mention Bucs Report. I haven't had a chance to mess with that, Eric. Been on here giving the news. I know you want to hear. I want to hear from you. Kind of rushed on here. Today's not really my day, so I'm not sure what's up with that. But I'll make sure to look into that here. Ben Fournette did not having scrimmages in preseason games possibly have an impact on some of those cuts, or as we normally see teams evaluate guys, those process in other years. I mean, yeah. Most fans say preseason games aren't important, and I don't know how many times I've said that, 1,000 times, that it is important because it's not. I guess fans want to say that it's not meaningful football. It is for these guys because essentially it is a resume. Essentially, it is tape you put out to other teams and things like that. And as my interview I had with Tanner Hudson, you saw his face immediately when I said, well, preseason games don't matter. You saw his face immediately, and how many times have undrafted players and things like that become stars in these leagues from these games. I'm looking at a guy specifically like Victor Cruz and guys like that. Those are guys I'm looking at that became stars in the league that were undrafted players that were cut and then picked back up. Cameron Brate and those guys like that. So when people say that preseason games don't make a difference, I'm like, maybe for you, if you don't want to watch the game, I mean, that's your prerogative, what you want to watch or what you deem what's important. But to these players, you'll never hear anybody saying that from starter on down. And when I interviewed Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, one of the first things he said, he loved interacting with the fans and them showing support and showing why you want to be on the team and who you're going to play for. It's exciting for him, and it helps work out penalties. It helps work out false starts, mental mistakes, mental penalties is the word I'm looking for. It helps eliminate mental penalties. And so when you're going in with live bullets week one, I expect to see a lot of sloppy football from all teams, not just Tampa Bay or New Orleans. A lot of teams I expect to see. So, yes, Ben, preseason does play an intricate part for everybody. And so many stars year after year are undrafted players that become stars somewhere. So it's just amazing that people just haven't caught on to that yet and still seem to believe that preseason doesn't play any part. I wanted to see Benning play here. I believe Vea could have trained him up and become a well asset in the interior defensive line and Todd Bowles' defensive scheme. I believe Benning Poe would have been great coming here. Jovan Hagan and Dixon, guys, I really liked, especially Dixon. He's a big safety. Some real size on it, could play in it, playing up top or down in the box, which will work well in Todd Bowles' system. Javon Hagan as well, very aggressive safety, can make plays. I just think some of these guys are not going to go anywhere. You're still going to hear these names here. I don't believe they're going to go too far. But as I said before, I believe Tanner Hudson is a very great tight end, a place kicker turned to tight end. He has very aggressive hands when catching the ball, and I think he could be a future here if he's not picked up off of waivers, but only time could tell. Adrian Peterson, Eric heard Adrian Peterson interest in a Buck or Pats. Is Adrian? I haven't heard anything on that yet, Eric. I'll see later when I get out of here. And as most of the cuts are going to happen everywhere else, I don't think so. Especially if you just cut a running back. Johnny Dean, what's going on? Adrian Peterson, Hall of Fame back. Obviously, I don't think that's any argument there. I don't think so. They pick up another running back, even if it's Adrian Peterson at this point. I think they got the guys that they want, or the opportunity that you had, got the guys that you needed and wanted right now with young stud tailbacks that you already have here. You got veterans, you got all types now. You got veterans and you got young guys here. So especially with Shady McCoy being the oldest guy on the roster at that position, that really helps. And 43 years of age of Tom Brady at quarterback. So you got a good mix here of young and old on this roster. So we'll see. We'll check on that, Eric. I'm not sure. I haven't heard too much on that to give you an elongated answer. Everything is still fresh now, and we'll see where everything's going to go with that. Johnny Dean, what's going on, brother? Eric again, which one would pick or Jags? If he's cut and he's a free agent, it's his choice where he wants to go or not. They have no say in that. So if he wants to go to a Jacksonville Jaguars team that's fire selling everywhere and tanking for picks, that's up to him. AP just got beat out by Peyton Barber. I mean, good point there, Gary. Just like Peyton Barber beat out Ronald Jones last year. Peyton Barber was managed to beat out Adrian Peterson for the job, clearly, obviously. We'll see with a better offensive line. I don't say better offensive line, but a different kind of scheme. Ron Rivera is very known to run the ball heavy. So Peyton Barber will get his chance to showcase what he has and what kind of skill set he's got. Working on that, Johnny. Not sure. I didn't really have time to test. I wanted to jump on here as fast as I could to get this news out to these folks. As these folks are at work or out doing whatever they do, and they're trying to get information the best that they can. People just listen to the audio, and we appreciate that here. This is not my normal day, but I felt an obligation to get here. Peter Blake has the night off. I think you'll get Ray Kennedy tonight and the gang, so it'll be interesting. Get Rick Hughes here on earlier from the cheap seats. Look forward to seeing his show on the 13th. I normally post the shows on here, but I have to update the list because it's changed. Just like my show has a change, Rick's show will come up, and we have some other changes in the lineup with the schedule, which is always great. Change is always good, especially when the season's coming around. It's kind of like our preseason, and then coming into regular season, you got to come in striding. Luis Carlos said, what's going on from Mexico? Buenos dias, Senor Luis Carlos Aguilar. How you doing, sir? Here, CB made roster. Not sure who CB is you're talking about. And of course, Bucs Report, mycannabiscard.com, the official sponsor of Sports Talk49, the sports web, and all the other shows here on Bucs Report. Yes, Motley made it, Eric. I mentioned that earlier. I don't know if you missed it. They say he played very well and made the roster. And with that being said, let's take a quick break and play the sponsors real quick. And I'll come back to you, and we'll talk more Buccaneers roster cuts for a little bit. But always make sure to add me on social media right here. As well as check out our sponsors real quick. we're back. What's going on? Welcome back. I'm going to take a quick break and set up that. Yep, phone lines are down, but I will have it up next time I come live here Monday. Monday, I believe I'll be at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. It'll be Mondays and Fridays at 3 p.m. I'll make sure to be on here for you guys. So right now, I just got to answer your guys' questions in the comments section. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. It was short notice when to jump on here and do this. Rick Hughes was out here giving the flavor, so it's hard to come behind the legend as it is Rick Hughes. So we were moving down the list here, getting through everybody. It's not a whole lot right now. It's going to be more coming later, but I wanted to make sure to give them the most information out that I could on these, and wanted to give credit who put out the information. I believe it was Greg Allman first, and others that have done that. I believe it was Greg Allman who gives 110% putting his content out for Buccaneers Nation and things like that. So I don't see any other comments here. Let me go through the comments here and make sure to check it out. Change is always good. Always, Johnny. The Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol in St. Pete, as well as www.mycannabiscard.com. Be sure to check those out. Sign up if you're into all that, and we'll be out there September 13th. I think that's it as far as comments goes. I wanted to make sure to get on here and get you guys the information out that needed to be. And look forward to another show tonight. I believe Ray Kennedy will be on. I know Cup of Ray's usually on Sundays, but with all this breaking information, you got to call an audible like Joshua Allen. And I think that's it. I think we got through everything that we're going to get through today. I was going to go through all the comments. I believe I got through everybody and talked about all the cuts so far and the shockers and stuff like that, and who's going to be re-signed. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen here in the next 48 hours. And you still got Clowney out there who was waiting pretty much after training camp to sign with a team for the week of to try to prevent COVID. So we'll see how that turns out and what teams. Rumors right now, just rumors. Titans and New Orleans have been in the mix. So we'll see what's going on with the Clowney situation with that, especially with Alvin Kamara. Oh, before I was running out of here, I can't run out of here now. Speaking of audibles, one just got called. Sorry, guys, I lied to you. There's an audible that came. You want to know what the audible's name is? Joshua Cole Allen. That's the audible's name.
What's going on, Blake?
What's going on, brother? We went pretty much through the list, so wherever you want to jump in at, feel free, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah, it's been a crazy day. I mean, we were all expecting this, I'm sure, tomorrow, because that's when cut down day was. But you saw the first one come out with Dare, and then Mac A, and then Dakota Dixon, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. It's crazy, because you follow these guys all off season, and then boom, it happens. And there's guys being cut left and right with the practice squad rules. You don't know how exactly it's going to look like, bringing them back. People got to go through waivers. You're seeing some big names from this team get cut already. What's going to happen with other teams around the league? Adrian Peterson was cut today. Not that I think the Buccaneers should bring him in. I think we're pretty set at running back. But you never know who's going to get cut. Wide receivers, linemen. There could be a number of players available that come to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after tomorrow. So it's definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, I think you said it best. And as I was saying earlier, don't be so fret that the Buccaneers made all these cuts. 31 other teams have to do the same thing and see who pops out there. Might be a guy that's upgraded better than the guy that we let go. You don't know right now. As I said, these next 48 hours will be really interesting to see what transpires here when people clear waivers and things like that. So you're absolutely right. We spent all this time on these guys. I mentioned you spent plenty of time with Reese and Ned, had dinner at each other's house. No, I'm just kidding. You guys had on the shows a couple time here with a couple of Ray, and you had Javon Hagan,
Quentin Bell,
Levert, and all these guys on there. And it's fun following their journey and things like that. But the journey's not done yet. A lot of these guys will end up on practice teams, and their stories have not been written. And there's been many success stories in these undrafted players moving on to be successful in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the guys' names, Nick Leverett, Quentin Bell's another one, Javon Hagan. We had Mazzy Wilkins on, Reed Sinnett. Those guys have all been offered to come back on the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been plenty of players over their career that have started from the practice squad as undrafted guys and been to go on, if not making an impact for a team, at least playing a serviceable role, whether it's not on special teams or if it's as a backup reserve. Those guys are just as much influential for a team's success than the starters are, because they're the ones preparing the starters during the week on those scout teams and stuff like that. They're the guys that are putting the work out on special teams. So and making those plays to make all three phases of the game, cohesive and work well together. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see what this final roster comes down to. You look at a guy like Tanner Hudson, who played really well, but when it comes down to it, you have a guy like Anthony Auclair, who's a better blocker, has been praised by Bruce Arians for his special teams work, can play fullback or H-back if you need him to. That's not taking anything. In my roster predictions, I had Auclair beating Hudson. That's not taking anything away from Hudson's game. It just brings the light to the fact that special teams is a core area where they're going to need these backup guys, especially when you're already 3 deep locked in at tight end. With the big three, I don't think I need to mention their names. You guys probably know them already. But it came down to those 2 spots. And unfortunately for Hudson, he had an attribute that was already provided on this team with Cam Brate. He was a great receiver. He needs to work on his blocking a little bit more. Hopefully he'll get signed to the practice squad and be able to work on that. If not, that's why you kept an Anthony Auclair, to be that true blocker and be that fullback on short yardage downs and special teams contributor.
Absolutely. And as I was saying earlier, I think I said to you guys, I said when they sit in their room together, that's what they basically ask. Everybody thinks it's just like this big mastermind. If anybody's ever experienced this and seen how these work, the best way I could say it, if you ever watched that South Park episode where they all sit in the room, I know I'm using South Park, it's how they sit in the room and comes up with a show and they throw out ideas. It's kind of like that. They literally sit at a table and say, what exactly do we want from each guy? Do you want a guy that has especially in blocking? Do you want a guy that has better pass catching ability and route running ability at that spot? And unfortunately, Auclair fits the fullback / extra tight end role that Tanner Hudson didn't fill. Tanner Hudson, a punter / turned into a tight end, which has turned himself to a pretty decent one with more time, can get better. He's a more of a vertical threat and things like that. And I think he'll have a home here on the practice squad if he clears waivers.
Yeah, that's something that I'm uncertain of. I mean, there's a lot of teams that need tight ends. Tight ends are one of those positions that are hard to find a good one, or at least a serviceable one. So if he gets claimed, which I probably think he will, maybe you'll see Cody McElroy. It always makes me laugh thinking of his name. Cody McElroy will be back on this team on the practice squad if Tanner doesn't make it. But it's exactly right. They're sitting there. They're talking about, okay, so-and-so did well here, so-and-so did well here, so-and-so did well here. Okay, well, they all performed well on defense this camp. And that's what they're probably doing right now with outside linebacker, while we haven't heard a word on those yet. And they've already done it with inside linebacker. Okay, well, Quentin Bell showed that he could get after the pass rusher. Cam Gill showed that he could do some flashes against the pass rusher. And if they're counting Michael Divinity Jr. as an outside linebacker, Kazan Daniels, this is what they did in camp. This is what we've seen last year. This is what we've seen in college. Okay, this is what they did here, and this is what they did on special teams. Now, which one of these Venn diagrams overlap the most between defense, special teams, and potential, can we put together? And, that's what you're waiting to find out. Which one of these guys that, if their number is called on, can be a serviceable person in case of injuries on defense, but most importantly, which one can play that huge role on special teams if their number doesn't get called, and then what's their potential as a player. And that's what they do with all these players towards the end, and they have to try to figure out which guy is going to be the best guy for them and for this offense or defense or this team in general.
How you explained it is exactly how they're going to talk when they said it. Well, how they did talk at the table. That's exactly what they say. It's who fits here, who fits here, who fits. It's like you said. It's like a circle. That circle, or how much of each person fits into what area. It's how you described it is exactly what I was talking about. That's exactly what they're looking at. And unfortunately, some guys don't fit in this area as they do in another. And if that's not what you want, then so be it. As I said before, when you when you examined and talked about Quentin Bell, first words that came out of my mouth, I said he's going to be a specialty player on defense. Especially, what do you mean? I said especially is when you play a mobile quarterback, and he'll be used to spy mobile quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and guys like that who move around in the pocket. He can hawk those guys down because he has that kind of get up speed. That's the first thing.
4.4 speed for outside linebacker.
If you remember, that was
250.
If you remember, that was the first thing that came out of my mouth when you said Quentin Bell is that he can specialty player on defense. And it doesn't surprise me that he made this cut. It doesn't surprise me at all because
we're still waiting. I haven't heard anything yet, but
only time will tell. Especially with Mike Divinity Jr., I think he'll make the roster because he can fit both roles. Exactly. That's why I said that in there's the Shrine game. It was much like it's exactly what I said. I think Deshaun came on here and threw a throwback when Godwin came here. I'd made that prediction that the Bucs would pick Godwin in the third round, and nobody knew who the hell Godwin was. And I said the same thing as what I said with Divinity Jr. Those kind of guys who just don't have a thing that just stands out about them, but they do everything else great, can make homes here in the league with their work ethic. And Divinity Jr. will be really comfortable here learning already because you have about 5 players from LSU already on this roster. So it already feels like home. Exactly. It's not Louisiana and we don't have gumbo and all those type of things, but there's familiar faces in the camp here. And hopefully those guys can turn around Leonard Fournette, having an attitude change with a culture change from Tampa Bay from Jacksonville to Tampa Bay. Funny I say a culture change here because for a while we always talked about culture changing here in Tampa Bay. It's been bad, but now it seems to change with just one player of Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you bring in a guy like Tom Brady, you've heard everyone talk about the poise, the sense of urgency. Bruce Arians said it best in his press conference. You know, there's always a sense of urgency. But with Tom here, even though he said he'll play 4 or 5 more seasons, it's an extra sense, you know, and these players all know what's at stake. I mean, they're not going to talk about it. It was briefly mentioned, but now it's time to get your shovel, your pail, your lunchbox, and grind it out and get to work. It's a long season. Anything can happen. But as you said, the whole culture is completely changed overnight. It seems like that's what it was building towards when Bruce got here. And just bringing in a veteran like Tom Brady has really just amplified it tenfold. And this locker room is in a completely different mindset than they were last year. They're invigorated. They know what's at stake. You'll hear from the offensive linemen say, it doesn't matter who's back there, I got to do my job.
Robotic answer.
Exactly. But they know that with Tom's there, he's going to help. Everyone talks about how that helps the defense going in practice and how it helps, the wide receivers and how the running backs, how Tom does that. No one talks about how he helps an offensive lineman with their communication. Just coming up to the line, calling out different defensive looks that he's giving them, calling out different slides and adjustments. If he sees someone, lining up on the right side or left side, or calling out that quarterback like he did. I watched a lot of games last year, rewatched them, and not to take away from anything Jameis did because he was amazing for what he did, but he was very quiet. You very rarely hear him call out a line check or even find the Mike quarterback linebacker. Never heard an audible from the guy. Tom Brady is very vocal. He is a very vocal guy at the line. He's always been. And going to training camp, that just reaffirmed it, that this guy, I put out a tweet saying the vocal difference between Gabbard and Brady is night and day. The way he's up there, he's talking to everybody, he's calling things out. And it's the funny thing is Gabbard's got a deeper command than him. He's like, let's go. And Tom's like, 50 big. he's not high, but he's like, it's a completely different sound. And you can see the players respond to it. And we've heard this too from some of them. I think it was Alex Kappa, just how when he comes up there and the way he calls out shifts and protections and everything. And, it just helps this offensive line, not to mention his quick release, his pocket poise, and all that. It helps that we have Jensen, Marpet, and one of the big up and comers in Kappa in that interior line, because we know that's where teams like to pressure him to get after him. But it's going to be a fun season to watch, and as you said, these players are all bought in.
Absolutely. Every player that you interviewed to the ones I have, they all been on the same page. The message has been consistent from all of them. They're ready to play for this guy. There's two parts I want to add to that. The one with the offensive line, Tom Brady's ability to get the ball out quick has done two things. One, it's helped players. I'm going to just use a recent one. People know players like Nate Soldier look like a All-American stud and go to New York Giants and look like an All-American dud just from just switching teams like that. And it's because what you just mentioned, line calls, side adjustments, and getting the ball out quickly. and that's a whole night and day change going from that to the rookie quarterback out there in New York. The other part is, and I got to give a close-up. I want the fans to look at me closely for this one. Give that man some damn credit, Jason Light. Give him some damn credit finally. All these months in the past, you've been talking cash, SH, sugar, honey, iced tea about this man. Lousy job. Can't draft. Can't do this. Can't do that. What the hell did he just do? Is this conversation dead?
No, because they'll go back to Matt Gay. Oh, he dropped the kicker in the 5th round and didn't make it to a second season.
Cool. I'm cool with that. With the exchange, I'm cool with that. I said Tom Brady, Leonard Fournette, Rob Gronkowski. That kills that. I mean, what else? What else does he got to do? Go ahead.
I will say that Jason Light, for what he's done, bringing in Tom Brady. Although when you listen to him talking earlier in the offseason before when they said they got him, it doesn't sound like he had to do much convincing. It kind of sounded like Tom Brady looked at the options, looked at travel situations, looked at the teams, and was like, going back to LA would be nice, but now I'm too far from my son, Gisele's work, this and that. And he's like, Tampa makes the most sense. So it doesn't seem like Light had to sell him too hard on that. And then going back to it, it doesn't seem like Light had much to do with the Gronk signing. And then once you get Tom Brady and Gronk in the door, it's pretty much, all right, here comes Shady. All right, Fournette sees this. All right, here comes Fournette. Bruce Arians in his ear. I got to get rid of Gay.
Yeah,
I need another kicker. He went out and signed Stuck Up. He made some small moves to bring in other players and stuff like that. Kevin Love, and although he didn't last, but he was there for the rookies, and that was probably, good for them to kind of pick on another veteran's brain. But his best thing that he's done this year is the draft. I mean, you're getting possibly at least 2 starters in the foreseeable future in Wirfs and Winfield. And then you look at what Keyshawn Vaughn could – because remember, all these guys are only on 1-year deals, and I think Rojo only has 1 year left after this year too.
Correct.
So your running back group from next year will be Rojo and Vaughn. If Vaughn can turn out to be the player we think he is, even if he's just a third down ace like a James White, good pass catching, then that's a win. Tyler Johnson, air's still up in the air on him. But if he can turn into that wide receiver that everyone thought he was going to be, that showed out down here in Tampa in his Senior Bowl game, that not Senior Bowl, Outback Bowl game, then that's another win there too. I know Davis, you're extremely high on. He's already looked like he carved out a role as a third down specialist coming and using that.
Who said that?
Crazy. I wouldn't go as far to say he's going to take Golston's spot. Not yet, because I think Golston is a very unsung hero of this defense. But I can definitely see him getting more snaps.
The reason I said that and what solidified that is I started looking at details. So the game I looked at, and you guys can look at if you went bored or at home, you can look at. Watch the game, Nebraska versus Minnesota. Why? Because there's so many draft picks that we pick from those two rosters, and it's an interesting tape to watch. And Minnesota specifically ran plays away from Khalil Davis the entire game and ran to the other side. And Khalil Davis was a victim of less talent around him. So that's why the defensive line didn't really shine. And all you have to do is basically go away from this guy to move the ball. Then that's easy. Just go the other way and force him to have to chase the play down 15 yards the other way to come get it from the defensive line position. And that was the key part of why I saw how the effect that he had. And the other part, he had a lot of tread left on the tires. He didn't get much playing time and worked his way up and becoming better. Plus, his athletic ability really showed out later in the camp, and that was probably because he was healthy finally, and was able to show how athletic he was. And also, there's been such success later in these leagues with these late round picks that have turned out to be stars. I'm looking at the guy from the Chiefs that they just re-signed. His name slips my mind right now, but they just re-signed. He was a later round pick, and he's here getting a big top contract now with the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's where I got my basis from, was from that tape. And if you can scheme against a guy who was allegedly a 6th round pick that nobody knew about, then you obviously had something that a lot of people didn't see.
I mean, yeah, what did he have? 4.7 speed coming out of as a defensive lineman, one of the heaviest guys out there, 308 pounds, I believe. And then, he puts up the second most weight bench reps out of all players too at the combine. I mean, the guy's a physical specimen. It's funny because you draft your defensive lineman, who's a physical freak for his size, in the 6th, and you draft your offensive lineman, Tristan Wirfs, who's a physical freak for his size, and you kind of set up your lines with two athletic physical specimens that with more time, obviously Tristan Wirfs, you expect him to start right away. I mean, and he is. And by all accounts considered, Shaq Barrett said he's going to be nightmares for some of these edge rushers. But Khalil Davis, I think in time, as you said, Will Golston's contract is up this year. I think that if he has a good year and can show he can be productive in the role that he has, I don't see it. I mean, it's a little bit of a different position for him, but in a 3-4, especially, in Todd Bowles, there's multiple fronts. So, I mean, you're not necessarily in a 3-4. Sometimes you'll be in a 2-4. Sometimes you'll be in a 4-3 real quick and put one of those outside linebackers in a Shaq or JPP's hand in the dirt and give you a pseudo 4-3. So there's definitely a spot for him on this roster to make an impact going forward after this year as potentially a starter.
And the reason I guess I get so much on Will Golston is because they had high hopes from him that 1 year's his contract year. He played very, very well, played a lot of snaps and was available. And then they expected, more out of him once you got that big contract that he's currently still on and making a decent amount of money to basically be a 2-down lineman that run plays. He's been very well in that. He has the size. I wouldn't say he's not very athletic and can't really, change the direction too much, but he's really great on those rundowns. And if Khalil Davis can show that he can do that, you could save about $4.5 million on Will Golston and find another guy for much cheaper that can be a one-gap guy and get penetration on run plays, and possibly re-sign Godwin and re-sign these other players with that $4.5 million. I'm not sure if they still owe him money yet. Another big place where money can be moved is next year with Donovan Smith, which I think the Bucs will take another offensive lineman coming in his next draft. Not sure if it's at the beginning or next, because you will free up $14 million next year with the change of pace at Donovan Smith at left tackle, because they owe him no more guaranteed money. So it's going to be interesting, especially with the development of players coming out of here, especially with the draft.
Yeah, and some breaking news.
What is it? What is it?
Okay, so rookie defensive tackle Khalil Davis has been told he's made the team. So your guys made the team. In a subsequent move, however, defensive lineman Jeremiah Ledbetter has been told that he's going to be waived, but he's been invited back to the practice squad. So you've cut your defensive lineman Benning Potoa'e, Kyle Love, and now Jeremiah Ledbetter, setting your defensive roster at Adam Kasu, Vita Vea, Will Golston, Raheem Nunez Roches, Khalil Davis, and Pat O'Connor.
Which he says had a great camp, because Pat O'Connor made it as well.
Bruce Arians said that Pat O'Connor has definitely stood himself out apart from the rest of the group. So, so there's your potentially, barring moves, that's your potential 6-man defensive line roster setup right there, which I figured they'd keep 6 instead of 5, just because same thing. I think they'll keep around 9 offensive linemen too. You have to have 8 offensive linemen dressed on a game day. It's a new rule in the NFL. I figured they'd have either 9 or 10 of them. Just because you're down in the trenches, you're down in the dirt, right next to each other, breathing on each other, spitting on each other. There's no social distancing in the offensive and defensive trenches. So I figured they'd go a little bit heavy there. I initially had Kyle Love making the roster. I took him off in my roster prediction. So that's exactly who I had for my roster prediction. I have Jeremiah Ledbetter making the practice squad, which looks like he'll be on the practice squad there if everything goes through. So no surprises for me on the defensive line, but it looks to be a good group. I mean, I think we're going to see some huge thing out of Nacho this year. He's been talked about by everybody and anybody who will talk about him at camp. His D-line coach, his defensive coordinator, head coach Arians, all the offensive linemen, all the defensive linemen, they've all had nothing but positive things to say about Nacho. And he'll be one of the first guys to come sub in, when they go to different sets or when someone needs a breather. And then right behind him, you'll have Khalil Davis. It's going to be so interesting because they've got such a deep group at some of these positions. And that's not the group that you think would be deep. You see the names like Sue, Nanakusu and Vita, and you're like, okay, wow, but who's over there? William Golson. The average fan, they're not, who's William Golson? But to like people who follow the team and really know, like these other guys behind them, like they could ball. And especially if you put them in specific roles and specific schemes for them to capitalize on their strengths, which is something that Todd Bowles is one of the best defensive coaches. It didn't really work out for him as a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator, the guy is magnificent at putting these guys out in places where they can let their athletic ability make plays for them. And you're going to see that with the cornerbacks this year. The picks are going to be out of control. These guys have another year in the system. They're going to
as you saw the NFL when I posted in our off-air chat group, you saw NFL had them for 30 seconds as lockdown corners. So I believe that's going to be posted somewhere in the locker room. I would hope so. I personally posted that on other places where they could see it. And that's what that's from the NFL posted that, not some fan site or anywhere else. So what they thought about them. So they have a lot to prove. Only thing that really scared me, as I said, there was SMB putting on weight, which me and Tanner joked about. Tanner Hudson. Yeah. They said SMB put on some weight, and I'm just interested to see how he plays with that late weight playing the slot position, because it's hard running with a little heavier weight, being in a position where you're chasing people a lot. It's more, it's really not. It's overlooked when you're playing safety because you can do that, and you're asked to play in the run, be in the box, hit linemen, and things like that. But hopefully, I'm looking forward to seeing him play well, even at that weight, and Jamel Dean and the gang all formulating together. Carlton Davis keeping his play up to a high level since playing well against Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins at the end of the year. So there's a lot to look forward to in the secondary in 2020.
Exactly. And you mentioned SMB and the weight he's put on. I mean, this is the guy who led the league, was tied for the league in interceptions on slot receivers because he primarily played in the slot.
Gave up no touchdowns either.
Yeah. And another thing you're seeing, though, there, Blake, is that some of these slot receivers or receivers that are being able to do multiple things, like a Chris Godwin, you can put a little bit of a bigger, stronger guy in the slot and have him make plays. So I get why SMB wanted to do that. I'm with you. I hope it didn't slow him down enough where he can still cover those slower, quicker guys. But if it didn't slow him down at all, that strength, that muscle mass that he's put on is going to do nothing but help him against the bigger guys, because that's one area where – I mean, you got to remember, these are still young guys. I mean, second, third year, all of them?
Very young.
Including everyone in the safety. They're either a rookie or in the third year, unless you talk to someone like Ryan Smith or Andrew Adams, who are pretty much special teams players only. They're not going to see the field unless they have to. So these guys are still young. So it's going to be interesting how they progress. And that's, me, Blake, I've been tooting this horn all summer long. If those guys can pick up from where they left off, have more confidence, have more communication, and play their game instead of having to worry about, okay, where am I supposed to be here? Where am I supposed to be there? What am I supposed to be doing on this play? And just play their game. Sky's the limit for this group. Sky's the limit.
And the thing with that is, and if you're just tuning in, it's a Sports Talk49. Off day edition of Just Getting Out Breaking News and Joshua Cole Allen, which you're coming on live today at 8, correct?
Yep. Audible today.
Early. And then Ray's coming on too, right?
Yeah, I had a little bit of a snafu on Wednesday. Had some family stuff I had to take care of, so we'll have the audible on tonight from 8 till I think I have 8 till 10. So who knows? Maybe 8 to 9, 8 to 9:30, 8 to 9:15, 9:45.
It's
Who knows?
whatever.
Come and find out. We're gonna have a show though today. Bring on some guests, talk about these cuts today some more, get in depth. We're throwing out this. We're calling an audible, throwing out the normal script, and we're just going live and going with it. Still have giveaways and stuff like that. So make sure you tune in at 8.
Of course, and it's not pun on words. It's literal. You calling an audible coming on later. So what I wanted to say was about the secondary. You said picking up, but it's going to be it's a two-part system to that. Being how the secondary was horrendous the first half of the season, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. Being how they made changes from Vernon Hargraves, rookies coming in, literally knowing they're playing 30 minutes before kickoff, things of that nature, but. As I've said 1,001 times, and I'll say it 1,002, I believe a lot of that predicated from pass rush up front, which I said in the groups a lot. I said when there was no other pass rush coming from anywhere but Shaq Barrett the first couple of weeks, and he took the league by storm, getting all those up. Now everybody's like, well, shit, this is their only guy getting any pass protection. We'll just double on him and see what everybody else, which hence why I honed so much on depth and quality depth getting pressure. Because if I can see that, I know everybody else can see the same thing. And they'll be ready coming into 2020 for Shaq Barrett. They're going to have stuff planned for him. But that's why it's gladly Jason Pierre-Paul came back and got a sack, his first snap in of Tennessee's quarterback. Names are slipping my mind, but you know what I'm talking about.
Was it Tannehill or Mariota at the time?
No, it was Tannehill. It had to be Tannehill.
I think it was Tannehill too.
Yeah. First play got a sack in there. Broke neck and all coming back, and they got a sack, So with them two healthy and you got a full off season from both of them, I don't think that should be too much of an issue. And I think the secondary could play aggressive, could play physical. And as you were explaining earlier, there's a difference between playing. And I know coaches don't really hone on it because fans don't really pay attention to it.
No.
When you're not learning, when you're not forced to learn and remember what coverages you are supposed to be in and who you have on leverages, high, low, and things like that, or you playing man trail, et cetera, you just play. You just play, and you don't have to worry about all that. You don't have to worry about all that, and then you start making plays instead of worrying about remembering plays.
Exactly.
What else you got, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, and that's the great thing about this defense too, is Todd Bowles lets you freelance. He lets you play your game within the confines of his game. Correct. As long as you know the scheme, you know where you're supposed to be, and you have your assignment covered, you can take that risk from now and then. He doesn't mind that. He actually encourages it. And as you said, the secondary and the pass rush go hand in hand. That's why there's 4 premium positions. I'm going to sidetrack real quick. In the NFL, there's 4 premium positions that get good money. It's quarterback, it's left tackle, it's pass rusher, and it's cornerback. Because on both offense and defense, those things are in unison. Without a good left tackle, or right tackle, depending on your blind side, protecting your blind side, it's very hard to have efficient quarterback play. Well, same thing with a cornerback and a pass rusher. It's been done, but when you have good players at both your pass rusher and your cornerback, it creates so many more opportunities for the pass rush and for turnovers, because the pass rush will simply do this. If they can get there in time, there's errant throws. There's, quarterbacks are throwing it errant, they're throwing it away, whatever like that. That's an opportunity for interceptions and for turnovers, pass deflections, and to make plays. Well, if the coverage, like we saw last year on Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins, if the coverage is locked down on a wide receiver, well, that's making the quarterback hold on to the ball longer, because he's going from his first or second read now to looking for his third, back to his first, and that lets the defensive pass rushes get there better. If they're both playing at very high levels, that's where you see multi-sack game. That's where you see Shaq Barrett with his 3-sack performance, at the end of the year. Julio locked down. That's where you see those types of performances, because there's only so long that you can hold onto the ball, and so long that you can, so quickly to get rid of the ball where it's not going to be able to go to the right place. It's going to be. I think they're both. Listen, I have them as a top 5 defense. I have them as top 5 across the board. I drafted in my fantasy because I think this defense is going to be the real deal. If anything, roster cuts happen around the league, and all they do is solidify this. But their starters are set, and their starters look really good. So I'm not worried about this team at all. Now that you're bringing Suckup, I mean, I think it's good. It's just the one question mark you will have is the secondary.
Yep.
Can they be the same level? But so far in practice, they've looked good, but it's practice. So we'll see against a live quarterback like Drew Brees. But I think Tom Brady has prepared them immensely, more than anyone else could have, that could have been here at quarterback. So I think they're in a good spot.
Absolutely. If Tom Brady, it's two Drew Brees, two guys that hold a lot of records. If you can't get much of a better simulation than Tom Brady. Nope. Alex Scott says, I thought Nassib played well. JPP was out. Nassib played well, but Nassib wanted to get paid, deservingly so.
It's been a ghost.
Yeah, went ghost, going to a new scheme out there in Vegas. From what you reported, Josh, he's not even getting third team reps, so it's not sure if he even makes the roster. Could come back.
I mean, we've seen it.
Could come back, so you might get your wish, Alex.
Mohamed Sanu was just traded last year from the Falcons to the Patriots for a second-round pick. Played half a season, got cut before he played another one. It definitely could happen, and especially with Gruden and Mayock. They're not afraid, especially Mayock. Mayock is not afraid to admit a mistake. You look at the Antonio Brown fiasco last year. They will cut him real quick if they don't think he's made the team. And then, you bring him back in the system. He's going to be relegated to more special teams because Anthony Nelson's fully healthy, and it looks like he's a guy. I don't even think they bring back Nassib, to be honest with you. I think they're really comfortable with Anthony Nelson. I've heard a lot of great things from the offensive linemen and from his coaches, from Bruce Arians in general. I think that he's ready to go this year, and that last spot is a special team spot. Nassib's going to come back for making all that money to come back to a veteran minimum to play special teams for the Bucs to get a ring. I don't know. Hell hath no fury.
That's true. And you're right. At Iowa, he had a lot of success with him and Espinosa, who was just recently drafted in the 2020 draft.
To the
Bills, a good system to go to out there, and he'll be used accordingly.
Gonna be a monster.
Yeah, he played very well. Had very dominant tapes out there at Iowa. I think injuries just played him, and the other part of switching from hand in the dirt to standing and rushing. I'll tell you, and it was from my personal opinion. I'm a guy who was very familiar with sticking his hand in the dirt, and then you go into the old top edge rushing thing is very different, especially if you're not used to that. You're used to firing off from a 3-point stance, and then now you got to learn how to rush off of one leg pretty much, and timing snap counts and things like that. But it's different. I'm sure that played something as well into Anthony Nelson, but he's had time to work on that.
He's a big guy too, so I mean, he's got that length. I mean, it was high school, but I did the same thing. I was outside linebacker, and then I gained a little bit of weight and shifted to defensive end. So it does take a second to learn, especially I can't even imagine about going up against NFL competition wise, but I think Ian Nelson's going to do fine. He has that experience being down in the dirt. So I think he'll be a very versatile player, with him and JPP with the size they bring. Obviously, I am rooting for Quentin Bell because I think that what he can bring for this team, the relationship that, we've had him on the show a couple times. But I think for what he can do with that speed, man, 4.4 speed for a 250-pound anybody is crazy. As a linebacker, that speed is what you want. I think he can show up really well on special teams and on defense. But that fourth spot, I'm comfortable with whoever they're plugging in there. I think this team is in very good hands with some of their depth. And that's the thing, because before training camp, Blake, we're all like, I wonder if they could bring Clay Matthews in, or if they could make a trade for maybe Everson Griffin and move him to outside linebacker, sign him, or you're going through the list of guys like who can you trade, who can you sign, who can you trade, and then you see them in practice and you see, you hear about the coaches talking about them and see what's going on. And coach speak is going to be huge because that's what teams have. They don't have tape. They have what the coaches have told them, have set out in public. They have, this guy's look good. They have what reporters have practiced on, going to claim guys off waivers and stuff like that. I think that I think that this group is good. I don't think we need to bring in a free agent to back up Anthony Nelson. I don't think we need to bring in a free agent to back up some of these guys. I think that the team is pretty much set. If you can get better on offensive line, because with your line depth, you got AQ Shipley, you got Joe Haig, but if you can get another interior or swing tackle, because I think Josh Wells is going to be your swing tackle right now, with Haig obviously being able to play almost all 5 spots.
Right.
Shipley being your center, being able to interior. You got Aaron Stinney who can play all 3 interior. If you can bring in another guy on the offensive line, I see that. If you can bring in another wide receiver, maybe if you're going to keep 6, it all depends. I don't even know, because Scotty Miller and Justin Watson have been on such good chemistry with Tom Brady. I know they're not flash names, and I know they're not guys that
don't have to be.
Exactly. I don't think they have to be. I think they just need the chemistry and the trust. And I don't think that you need to bring in a guy at that spot. Tight end, you're stocked. Running back, you're stocked. Defensive line, maybe you get rid of O'Connor and you bring in another guy, but whoever you bring in is not going to be a starter. That's the thing. Whoever you bring in for this team is going to be a depth player.
Right.
They're simply a depth special teams player. So you're not going to find someone that's going to come in, unless they're at the end of the career and they're chasing a ring and will come back and play, 5 snaps to 10 snaps a game. You look at the spot where you're not going to bench Levante or Devin White for anybody. You're not going to bench JVP or Shaq for anybody. You're not going to bench Carlton Davis. Bruce Arians called him a top 10 corner. Jamel Dean, you want to stunt his growth. SMB, you want to stunt his growth. Mike Edwards, Jordan Whitehead, you don't want to stunt that. I mean, Earl Thomas has been out. If you're going to sign anybody, Earl Thomas is the guy you're going to sign. He's not coming here. And then Antoine Winfield looked great. I mean, he could be a spot starter. I just don't think there's any room for any free agent here that is a notable name that is going to get notable snaps. It's depth pieces right now, if anybody else gets claimed, which I'm sure they will.
Yeah, and I'm really interested. I'm going to be all on my phone checking out, see who else got cut all around the league as well, to see where else they can get better. But I'm pretty much with you on that. The really only question is secondary and possible depth behind wide receiver, if you really want to call that an issue. That's about it. But otherwise than that, Tampa Bay has officially secured the bag with Leonard Fournette signing. That pretty much secured the questionable backfield situation that everybody's been back and forth argument on who should get what, who can do what. They've pretty much secured that. So It's really up to them now.
It just comes down to pass blocking for all 3 guys. Obviously, Rojo struggled with it. Fournette's a willing blocker, but he hasn't been a lights out blocker. And same thing with Shady. I mean, doesn't really. If Shady's in the game on 3rd down, he's going out for a wheel. He's going out for a wheel route.
Yep.
So it all comes down to who's going to emerge as the blocker, and whoever emerges as that blocker is going to be the guy on 3rd down. It's going to be very interesting to see how they do this. How they do this committee, because you've got all 3 guys can tote the rock. I mean, same thing with tight end. I think it's just going to be hot hand basis. Whoever's got the hot hand.
I'm gonna tell you early right now what the key is on the offense and against the Saints, which I'll give it out early before my Friday prediction.
Just a teaser, because we got the show next week.
Yeah, I already know where it is. I said it last year, but the offense wasn't really predicated like that. Well, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, which changed his name. I forgot his new name now. I'll get it later. I'll have it ready by Friday. But I know he changed his name. It's not going by that anymore. It's between that and the linebackers. Demario Davis is an absolute dog at run stuffing.
One of the most underrated.
He sucks at pass. He cannot change direction to save his life. And that goes along with the other 2 linebackers. Them running backs that week need to be eaten. They need to catch about 15 to 17 passes at that game and force Charlie Gardner-Johnson and them linebackers to cover him. Gardner-Johnson is going to have to cover Rob Gronkowski. If he does not recover Rob Gronkowski, he's going to eat those linebackers alive. And if that happens, then the back's got to be covered by those unathletic linebackers that they have in New Orleans. So that's pretty much what I'm going to break down later on. And plus Drew Brees on offense. And the scheme is already out there how to beat him. You just got to know what tape to watch. And I already had that ready. But
I agree. A lot of 12 personnel, a lot of passes out to the backfield, maybe 2 back sets where you do a play action with another back sweeping out of the backfield or lining up in the slot, and you make those linebackers trying to beat you. You ineffectively take out Cam Jordan out of the play because it's going to be such short, quick passes out to the running backs and across the middle and across the
outside the hashes and then across the middles,
quick slants and stuff like that, quick button hooks and stuff, and you just you make their linebackers beat you because we know they have a pretty good secondary with Jenkins and Lattimore, and
you have to go to them.
You just work that middle of the field, middle section right there, and good luck stopping that, because that is one part, you're right, where if the Saints lack anything, it's in the middle right there. And if you can
athletic ability from the linebackers is their issue.
If you're gonna exploit that, that's exactly what you do. And now you have the players to exploit that. I'm really interested in seeing two tight end, two back.
You're gonna see it
lineups, because you put Fournette and LaShawn McCoy out there, with Gronk and Juice. Good luck. It's going to be interesting. Back to what Ray just said, Justin Evans will be released this year. You have to think so. I mean, unless they put him on PUP, because he can go straight from PUP to PUP because he's been on there all camp. You're not going to put him on IR, because if you cut him now, you can free up $1.1 billion in cash for the cap.
Does it really help?
What?
I mean, the team, if they save the 1.7 million.
It's nice in case the injuries are in the middle of the year, but I mean, if you're going to put him on IR, this is his contract year. I mean, you're going to put him on IR just to pay him? I mean, you kind of did that with Kendall Beckwith the last 2 years, and it was time to say goodbye to him.
That's sad. That's sad.
It is sad, but it's
great
business.
Talent.
I mean, imagine another LSU linebacker. I mean, how many LSU would just call us the Tampa Bay Tigers at that point?
That's what I'm saying. And it's none of his fault. A car accident. Wow.
Well, Justin Evans, it's like, it's Esser get off the pot. It's like you've had all this time to recover from an injury that normally takes a lot less time than it does to recover from. And at this point, if you're not going to be able to play, what are we going to do? Put you on PUP for the first 6 weeks? Put you on IR for the first couple of weeks? It makes no sense to do that. At this point, unfortunately, we have Antoine Winfield Jr. and 3 other safeties we like. We're going to have to let you go. I'm going to say $1.1 million in case of emergency. If there's anything we need that comes up during the offseason, we'll have that, because we are very tight up against the cap right now. I think there's like 700,000, so.
Yeah, it's not much. And yes, Johnny Dean, we are still alive. Joshua Cole brought the fire back. He probably came in right at the clutch time, called an audible. He came right in just when you thought I was done. We aren't done. It won't be a Peter Blake 3-hour show, but it will be a decent one because Josh is bringing the flavor. Mike E says, should we sign Adrian Peterson? I know somebody's going to ask. No.
No, thank you. If anything, if they're going to sign another back, I'd like a fullback. I'd like to see a fullback, a real fullback on the team.
Then I kind of eliminates all clear. I mean.
Yeah. But I mean, he's not really a fullback. He just comes in certain situations. I hope that's something that he's been working on a lot with the running backs coach, is his fullback and H-back responsibility. But Vita's a fullback. We all know that.
Right, he's
a goal line fullback. He's a secret weapon. But yeah, no, backfield's done. It's done. I can't believe there are a lot of people saying, "Oh, they're going to cut Keyshawn Vaughn." Like, no, they're not going to cut Keyshawn Vaughn. He's a third-round pick.
I don't even entertain it. Keyshawn Vaughn's not for now.
He wasn't even injured. It's like he was out injured. Someone was close to him that had COVID and he had to lock down. Like, that happens. Like, it's out of your realm. Like, what do you want me to do? By all intents and purposes, he'll be on special teams opening day. I'll tell you that. But now he's got an uphill battle. He's a red shirt running back, 3rd-round pick. New England Patriots did the same thing last year with Damian Harris out of Alabama. 3rd-round pick, just other players in front of him. Now he's figures to have a role in the offense. It's just what happens. So next year you'll have Rojo and Keyshawn Vaughn as your 1-2. I mean, sounds perfect in a perfect world. This sets up an intrigue situation for Rojo, though. I still project him to lead the Buccaneers in rushing yards. But with him taking these cuts and stuff like that, and he does, splitting carries, if he does perform well, he can't demand an exorbitant contract.
Oh.
So re-signing him for the long-term future after this year into his contract year would be an easier pill to swallow before he takes on that 1 year as the lead guy with Keyshawn Vaughn. You'd have a 1-2 tandem there for 3-4 years after that, which would be nice.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially coming contract time and how many pennies they can squeeze out to re-sign all the guys that they need to re-sign. But I'm going to get you out of here, Josh, because you got to go on later anyway. I don't want to use up all your vocal, save it for later in your show. Why don't you tell everybody what they're waiting for later today and what you got going on in the future? Absolutely.
I got the Audible on tonight, usually on it Wednesdays at 7:30. If you know, you know. If not, it will be on tonight at 8 o'clock. We'll do weekly giveaways. We'll have some guests, trying to plan those out right now. Not sure if I'm going to do another fantasy guest. I know this is the biggest year for fantasy football. I had one on last week. Try to have one on today as well, because I know it's such a busy year for it, this weekend especially. We'll talk all these cuts today. We usually have a specific game plan. I'm thinking I'm going to throw it out and just, come on here and talk to you guys, take a lot of comments. If I can figure out my whole phone call system, maybe take some phone calls from you guys, calling an audible on this Friday edition. And then after that, we'll have, Ray Kennedy on at 10 o'clock. Might see me on there too, who knows. But in the meantime, follow me at Twitter, at Joshua_C_Allen. I've been tweeting out all these cuts, information. I have a bunch of articles that I've written, that Bucs Report have written. Just stay there for breaking news and all the Buccaneers content.
Awesome, Josh. See you later tonight, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. There you have it, Joshua Cole Allen. And if you're just tuning in to the end, this is the end now. We're going to wrap it up. I'm Blake Anthony, Sports Talk49, off-day edition to bring out breaking news with the cuts and everything live on Bucs Report. That's all I got, man. We'll get out of here and we'll check these guys out later, see if I jump on their phone call and stuff like that. But we'll end this as we always do. You're the master of everything. What you do with your life, what you do with it is entirely up to you. Thank you, guys. God bless. And as always, fire those. Oh, wait a minute. Make sure to follow me here. And now, thank you, guys. God bless and fire those.